I'm Graham.
And I'm Tanner.
We are Crystal Street Comics, and welcome to Thoughts from Crystal Street, where there's really only one thing to talk about. And I tried to find something else. I really did, because what we're about to argue, or at least give you our thoughts on, is, in our opinion, not worth giving our thoughts on because it's really pretty obvious. But at the same time, it's the slow season. So, we do what we can. So,
We'll be talking to Toronto's Blue Jays
yes.
against whatever team they played last.
Yes, I'm sure they played the Dodgers. Maybe I don't follow baseball.
14-month-long season.
I care about baseball in October, and that's about it. And that's only if the Angels are in it, which lately it's been pretty quick that they're out. Anyways, now that my Angel depression is gone, thanks, Tannen.
Hi, here to help.
This weekend, the gang got themselves out to the movie theaters and went and saw the Ant-Man. So first, let's talk about what we thought about the Ant-Man. What do we think about the Ant-Man,
Um, so far, the biggest way when asked what I thought about it is I have to tell people it is what I expected.
Danny?
There was, in my opinion, there was nothing overly wowing about the movie.
Right.
At the same time, there's nothing at all disappointing about the movie. Um, it was incredibly fun,
Yeah. It was.
but it's like you also have your main actor predominantly made his money in comedy,
Yeah.
so I was expecting that. I am Paul Rudd nailed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it was enjoyable. I'll actually go see it again in theaters. I'll probably see it another time in theaters. Um, which is more than I've seen most Marvel movies in theaters. But
Yeah.
it's a movie that appeals to a lot of people I know that want to go see it, and I'm the person that will go see it with them. So, and it's not going to hurt my feelings to see it two more times.
So you're officially movie buddy for a couple of people.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, it was. I'd actually say it might have been a little bit better than what I had initially expected. Again, I didn't expect much from this film. It's Ant-Man. I mean, he is a. If you're a comic book fan, he's kind of important, kind of, but to the main audience, he's not much. And overall, I mean, I just thought it was a little funnier than I thought it might be. The action was a little bit better than I thought it would be. And what I was really impressed with was the special effects when he went small. I thought that the world looked really gorgeous when he was shrunk down, and I wasn't sure how good the effects would look. We've come a long way since Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, even though I can still watch that movie.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Well done.
Rick Moranis can retire because of those movies.
Uh-huh.
And that's not a lie, ladies and gentlemen. Look that up. Rick Moranis retired from acting because of the royalties he gets from the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies. It's true stuff.
Pick your roles.
Yeah, pick your roles well and make your contracts good. So, I mean, that was kind of it. That's what we had to talk about, was necessarily our review. But then the internet started creeping with some of its idiocracy that every now and again, I think it just looks for a story to try and print, or maybe we like to try and kick the big guy when they've stumbled. I don't know what it is, but there's outlets out there that are saying that Ant-Man proves Marvel's not invincible. Ant-Man proves that Marvel can't do whatever they want with C-list characters. And to that we kind of say bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, so yeah, I'm perfectly fine because the article where I'm getting most of my information from is it's a major news article, but I don't remember where
It's on Yahoo, might have been Huffington Post. It was something like that.
But yeah, they're mentioning it's like, yeah, Ant-Man is not an A-list actor. That's known. His biggest contribution, I believe, to comic books at all is he invented Ultron, which they've skirted in the MCU. So now his biggest contribution to the MCU is not his biggest contribution to the Marvel comic book line. So he's a guy that gets tiny.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not even a B-list actor. He's not your, I would say that would be Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow.
He's not. When he said actor twice, he means character.
Yeah.
Character. When we say that, what we mean is when you think of when I show you the symbol for Superman, you could never have read a comic, never have seen a movie. I bet you can still tell me that Superman symbol. characters like Black Widow would fall into the B list. They're kind of known, and if you put them in something, you don't gotta necessarily sell it too hard. Fantastic Four might be a better example of a B list team. You know, that they are. I think a lot of people would know who the Fantastic Four are who haven't necessarily read a comic, but not nearly the mass appeal of a Superman or a Spider-Man. So when you get into the C list, you're talking, if you're not a comic book fan, you're going to be hard pressed to know these characters. So Ant-Man going out there as a C-lister is a bit of a risk. Now let's put this on the table. Guardians of the Galaxy, that would be a C-list team. I don't know.
Man, I'd say they were lower than that for the comics. I mean, they were nigh unheard of.
Yeah. So let's talk about first the differences there. Why was Guardians such a hit, whereas Ant-Man is, at this rate, some people are saying rolling towards mediocrity, and we have numbers to otherwise disprove that, but we'll get to the math in a minute. You take a story like Guardians, and where it has an advantage over a story like Ant-Man is that, you've never heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but the universe that they get to be set in is so fantastic and broad and just visually amazing that it gets away with being that ridiculous and you not knowing the characters because the universe just looks so appealing. Ant-Man still takes place in California, on Earth,
present day,
in an apartment or a house most of the time.
Yeah.
So it lacks a level of fantasy that Guardians had that made it so appealing. Guardians had Star Wars appeal. Yeah, we've never heard of these places before, but they look really cool, and it looks like a place I might want to go. I don't necessarily want to go to the apartment that Ant-Man was living in throughout most of this movie.
No big desire there.
So that, when you look at that right on the surface, that gives Guardians more broad appeal. Now, also, Guardians had a, $60 million? No, $40 million increase in budget.
Yeah.
The budget for Ant-Man was $130 million. The budget for Guardians was $170. What's $40 million? Well, that's, a little more tech, maybe another bigger name. You can do some stuff with $40 million when you're making a movie. So there is a difference there. But there's another thing that's going to suggest that this movie is not a flop. And Tannen, give us the numbers on this.
Okay. To date, the Incredible Hulk, Ed Norton's Incredible Hulk, is the lowest
opening
weekend to its budget. And I'd be fine with saying it's like Incredible Hulk still wasn't a flop because overall, for its run in theaters, it still made $100 million more than its budget. To really consider anything a flop, you have to make less than you put into it.
Yeah.
Because that overall budget is marketing and paying people. So nobody walked away from any movie that made its budget with less money in their pocket than before they started. They just left with exactly what they had or more money. But Hulk is the closest to being considered a flop. Now its budget was $150 million, and its opening weekend, domestic opening weekend. These
are just the domestics.
Yeah, the domestic opening weekend was $55 million. So it made 37% of its total budget, domestic opening weekend, those 3 days. 37%. Now to put Ant-Man into perspective, the one they're considering that Marvel can't do whatever it wants now, its budget was $130 million. Domestic opening
58
was 58. So it made 45. It's like 44.6.
We round up here.
Of its budget in the first weekend. 40. Let's call it 45. Now, this is where we have a hard time really considering Ant-Man is anything but a success, is because Thor, the first one, cost $150 to make. First weekend, domestic, made 66, made 44%. 1% less, so it's actually a fraction of that that percent, but it made slightly less than Ant-Man. Thor, that already slated sequels and major character in the MCU.
About to get his third sequel, has been in both Avengers films, is considered a major character, Ant-Man did proportionately better.
Made more its opening weekend to its budget than Thor did.
Let's say opening weekend domestically,
Domestically.
because I think if you add in its international
Yeah,
opening, it
then-
did better. But Thor's, we'll also talk about that in this. Well, that's not necessarily a topic. For some reason, Marvel movies tend to do better internationally on weirder characters. Thor, maybe I could see being bigger internationally. Captain America is massively better internationally than it is domestically.
Which is bizarre.
That's weird. Because Hulk is slightly over a 50-50 split. Ant-Man right now is running about a 50-50 split. But Thor and Cap, they shift way big to the domestic market, which just, that blew my mind when I looked at that number. But
Yeah.
I interrupted Tannen.
Yeah.
Tell them.
And then just the last one. This is the first Captain America movie. Which once they made that, same with Thor, that it was already slated that they're making sequels because they need them for the Avengers. But Cap, $150 million budget, domestic weekend, 55. So it made 46%.
65.
65. Sorry. It made 46% its budget opening weekend. Ant-Man made 45. Nobody called Captain America the first one to flop. Now, it's not. Winter Soldier's a lot better.
Yeah, Winter Soldier's a better movie.
But it's not considered a flop, and it's when you run the numbers, and I can't assume that these people that are saying these things haven't, because it really took us about 3 minutes just to find the budgets and do the math.
Math.
Which is everybody should know how to take two numbers and divide them.
Unless you're growing up in the Common Core.
Oh, yeah, I had no idea how to do this division in Common Core. I assume I need, like, tarot cards and chicken bones. So it's like, they might say it because the Disney analysts wanted an opening domestic weekend of $60 million.
Right.
I
even saw as high as 65 was a target.
Okay. They still made 58.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they weren't far off.
And here's the other thing, because we haven't even mentioned this. Internationally, if you add that in, the movie's already made $114 million. That means next weekend, it could do $15 million between the domestic and the foreign box office, and it will break even.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, it's going to do more than $15 million this weekend.
Yeah.
This, and the other thing that we had talked about is this movie maybe potentially has better legs than some of the other Marvel movies because of its appeal to kids. Kids' movies have this long-running effect. They maybe don't hit the biggest right off the bat. You could look at Inside Out as an example of this. Inside Out opened at $90 million. That's still a big opening, but it's maybe not, it's not an earth-shattering amount of money for an opening weekend. But then it dropped off, and it was always right behind Jurassic Park for like 2 weeks. And then in its third or fourth week of release, it passed Jurassic Park. And the thing that it was doing is it never dropped below a $30 million domestic weekend. Kids' movies do this until they start to cannibalize each other. Like when Minions came in, that's when Inside Out finally dropped down again. Ant-Man has a larger kid appeal. You still have Inside Out and Minions in theaters. I'm curious to see if this movie doesn't maybe hit around that 30 million mark and then keep its legs.
Yeah. I mean, it has the ability to maintain, because kids' movies with this, I want to say kids' movies because it's not necessarily, 6-year-old movie.
Yeah.
Even though it's also not. I wouldn't blame you as a parent if you took your 6-year-old to see it.
I would take Gio to go see it.
Yeah, because it's not offensive. I mean, the action is, it's got really good action, but it is closer to, I would say closer to a cartoon. There's not a lot of blood.
No.
There's very little blood. There's a ray gun that just turns people into goop.
Yeah.
So there's no blood there.
Yeah.
It is more towards a younger audience with enough in it to appeal to everybody. And those movies, especially big budget, this type of action, those movies rarely exist. So this one actually does have the potential to having 4 or 5 week legs to even some movies 6-week legs where it will taper off by
Yeah.
then, but it could still be pulling in 12,
Yeah.
15, those fewer weeks down the road, just because there's rarely movies like Ant-Man in theaters.
Yeah.
And it's also one of those things where not too many people, if they've seen just a few of the other MCU movies,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what do you want to do? You want to go see a movie? What do you want to see? It's like, there's Minions and these things out there, and especially this is a slow season
Yeah.
of movies right now. That could be just let's go see Ant-Man because we liked Captain America.
Yeah.
It's it fits with a movie where people can have no plans, go in and see it, and not feel like they got ripped off
Mhm.
because they walked into
And this is also probably one where I think you had a lot more hesitation to go see it right off the bat. I think a lot of people were going to wait and hear from a friend
right.
who saw the film. Yeah, no, it was good. Go see it. You're not going to
Yeah.
feel like your money was wasted
Yeah,
going
no.
and seeing Ant-Man. So there's a lot of potential there as well. So really, that's it. And again, we feel bad that we're even having to talk about this kind of stuff because the numbers are right there for you to find. This movie's not a flop.
It's actually a long way from it. I mean, 1% less than Captain America. Really, for a C-list actor, Captain America, one of the most well-known Marvel characters in history, if not, and Ant-Man, guy that gets tiny. 1% less his budget for the weekend.
Yeah.
So quit calling it a flop.
You're just trying to find some news stories.
Yeah.
I know. Trust me. I know it's hard. It's slow right now. We have to deal with it too, but we're not putting bullshit out there. So I'm Graham,
And I'm Tannen.
and we'll see you next time.